Again, welcome to today's webinar. We'll get started with some administrative notes to keep in mind. So if you are using a phone line, make sure your audio is linked. If you do get dropped from the Zoom call, you could just dial back in. Also to note, participants will be muted upon entry and questions will be answered through the Q&A feature in the webinar as well. So today we have some great speakers for the Sponsoring Facility Focus webinar. Ms. Corinne Beach is our program manager for the SMART Scholarship Program and has worked for the Department of Defense for over 20 years as an engineer, project manager, recruiting lead, and a K-12 STEM coordinator. Miss Alexis Shade has provided administrative support to the SMART program for over 13 years, and she currently serves as the component liaison team lead. And now I'll hand it over to Corinne to get started for today's webinar.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this sponsoring facility-focused webinar. We are going to go through a couple of slides just really quick to talk about the SMART program and the various opportunities within the program prior to getting to talking about the sponsoring facilities. So to start off, SMART is a scholarship for service program that is a combined educational and workforce development opportunity for STEM students. And the focus of this program is really to build the Department of Defense's pipelines of civilian scientists, researchers, and engineers. If selected, you'll be working to solve technical issues and problems of today and the future, problems that we don't even know exist. There's a wide variety of careers available that span anywhere from research in a lab environment to industrial bases, and all of those careers working to ensure that the Department of Defense workforce is able to continue to enhance our technical expertise and to meet our operational requirements. So let's talk a little bit about our two opportunities here. We have the SMART Scholarship there on the left. This opportunity is for students who are currently in college pursuing either a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, and or can produce a college transcript. So if you're not currently in college but can produce a college transcript, then you would want to apply for the SMART Scholarship side of our two opportunities. Secondly is the new Ronald V. Dellums Memorial SMART Scholarship, and this is in honor of Ronald V. Dellums, who was the first African-American chairman of the U.S. House Committee on the Armed Services and an advocate for diversity. This piece of our scholarship expands our eligibility to include rising freshmen. So within the Ronald V. Dellums SMART Scholarship, you do not need to have a college transcript in order to apply. So as you note there, high school seniors could apply. With both scholarships, we offer full tuition at any accredited university under one of our 24 SMART STEM degrees, and we'll talk about what those are here in a couple of minutes. An annual stipend. That stipend ranges from $30,000 for a bachelor's student to $46,000 for a PhD student. Masters are $40,000 per year. Those stipends come to you as the student in monthly payments. And that's really meant to help with housing, food, that kind of thing, so that you can focus on your degree pursuit. We also offer book and health allowances. And then once your summer comes, summer internship at your sponsoring facility, which we'll talk about what that might look like in just a few minutes, an experienced mentor at that facility, and lastly, a full-time civilian employment position with that same facility. Okay, so let's talk just briefly about eligibility requirements. For both scholarships, you need to be a U.S. citizen There are some provisions for New Zealand, the UK, Canada, and Australia as a potential citizenship there. A degree in STEM, and again, we'll talk about what those are on the next slide. A 3.0 minimum GPA. And so that's a 3.0 GPA currently when you apply, and then also maintaining that 3.0 GPA during your degree pursuit. We offer a minimum of 1 year to 5-year award. And then that service requirement would be commensurate with how many years of funding we provide. So for example, if we provided 3 years of an award, then your service commitment back to the facility would also be 3 years. We also require that you're able to obtain and maintain a security clearance. And then depending on whether you're under the SMART scholarship or the DELMS, SMART, we require that you're 18 years or older at the time that your funding begins. So for this year, that would be next August. For DELMS, we require that you be 18 or older by the end of your first semester. So typically December timeframe. All right, so these are our 24 STEM disciplines, and we like to think of these as umbrella disciplines. And what I mean by that is these are the general discipline. Maybe if you're a statistics major, you don't see that on there, but that would fall under mathematics, for instance. If you have a question where you're not sure where your degree may fall, or if it falls within one of these, all you need to do is reach out to us. We'll provide some contact information a little later and ask a question. We're here to help and happy to try and make sure that your degree fits within these 24 different umbrella disciplines. Okay, so this is our application scholarship timeline here. Phase 0 is when we start our site visits. So this would be if you were awarded starting next May, a site visit to the facility that is providing your award. That's really to start getting to know people there, looking at the site, figuring out their mission, and really trying to get connected with people at that facility. Next summer, we will also be hosting an in-person orientation in July, which is in DC. And that's where you'll come together as a 2024 cohort. So everyone that gets an award will be invited to that orientation for really to understand more about SMART, and then also start networking and getting to know people within your cohort. And then lastly, our facilities will begin their background checks for security clearances. Phase 1 starts when you start your degree pursuit with your award. So if you are awarded this year, that would be next August. The program expects that you're taking full-time class coursework, keeping up that GPA, and then in between spring and fall semesters, doing those summer internships at the sponsoring facility. And then lastly, during phase 1 is when your clearance will be initiated. Phase 2 is once you are complete with your degree, you've graduated, and you are moving into working as a full-time civilian employee at your sponsoring facility. When you're working as a full-time employee, you're paid a salary, have all the government benefits, etc. And the time commitment is what we're looking for. So again, my example earlier was 3 years of school that's paid for under an award. You would owe 3 years of time commitment working at that sponsoring facility. And then lastly, phase 3, I like to call our alumni phase. And that's where you finish your service commitment. Many of our scholars opt to stay within their facility. Some move within DoD, and then of course some move out of DoD. We have about a 91% success rate of scholars either finishing their service commitment or on track to finish their service commitment. Okay, so let's talk about a sponsoring facility. What is that? So a sponsoring facility is a lab or agency within the Department of Defense that partners with the SMART program and sponsors our scholars. That sponsorship is their degree pursuit through their employment. Alexis will go into more details here in a few minutes about how to determine a best fit for you and some ideas on different preferences within sponsoring facilities. But I want to highlight that the sponsoring facilities are the ones that review the applications and select awardees. They're selecting awardees based on their upcoming hiring needs. And so they're really looking for folks who are going to be good match with them as a facility, not only in degree that they're obtaining, but then also, somebody that is passionate about the mission that they serve. Our sponsoring facilities are located all over the US. We'll show that in just a few minutes. And again, this is where our scholars are performing the internships and then gaining full-time civilian employment once you've graduated. Let's see, I already said they're across the US, and mission and type of work is quite variable, which in my opinion gives great access to everyone, right? There's something out there for everyone, and lots of variety. All right, so these are a couple of, Ryan and Michaela are a couple of our SMART scholars. And we have some quotes from them talking about working in their sponsoring facilities. Our sponsoring facilities are here. They're hiring you as a full-time employee in the near future. And so they're really working to ensure that you're engaged in the work that they're doing, and then continuously learning about their facility and how best you can work there and provide some engagement. So I'm not going to read either of these to you, but just note that both of these scholars talking about their internships and really trying to, again, be engaged in the work that the facility is charged to do. I am going to talk just briefly about my story. I'm not a SMART scholar. However, before becoming the SMART program manager, I worked at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington, which is out near Seattle, as an engineer. And my facility is a maintenance and operation facility for aircraft carriers and submarines. Very, very similar to taking your car to the shop. You may take your car to the shop because either it needs maintenance or something's broken and it needs fixed, right? So for instance, on needing maintenance, maybe you take it in periodically for an oil change. Or, you're having engine problem, brake problem, etc., and you need to get that fixed. So similarly with my facility, we provide that periodic maintenance and repair for aircraft carriers and submarines. I worked mostly on Trident submarines throughout my career there, and worked as a nuclear engineer, and all that really means is the space of my cognizance. We work in teams and really try to use everyone's expertise. Nowhere have I ever seen that one person is expected to know everything. That's really not realistic. So I really enjoy working in those teams. I also really enjoy that I've been able to change my area of expertise about every 3 to 5 years, and do something different. So for me, that's been good in order to freshen things up a little bit and try something new. But I've had help, and similar to SMART, Early in my career, I found some people that really were able to help me and be fabulous sounding boards. These two individuals in particular, I still consider them mentors today. And again, similar to SMART, we're going to pair you up with a mentor. My mentors have been incredible, both professionally, but also just helping me as a person develop. And just, again, a fabulous sounding board. Also within my facility and my career, I've been able to grow into different project management roles, work with leadership and lots of different avenues and different projects. So there's been a variety of type of work, as well as different kinds of engagements, which for me just keeps it lively and exciting. And I feel like I've been able to give back to our submarine force. So I think this is where I turn to Alexis to talk a little more about sponsoring facilities.
Yeah, yes, it is. Thanks, Corinne, for sharing your experience here, and we're so happy to have you with the SMART program. Alrighty, folks, so now that you know what a sponsoring facility is, and you've heard a little bit of an experience from our PM, let's talk about how best to align yourself with a facility and the resources that the SMART program has for you to assess your own match moving forward. So like we were saying, SMART sponsoring facilities are located across the United States, as you can see here on the map. Historically, SMART scholars have been placed at over 150 different DoD sponsoring facilities, and that includes the Army, Navy, Air Force, and additional DoD locations across 40 different states. A little over 100 DoD sponsoring facilities actively select SMART scholars in each given year. And if you are applying for the Dellum SMART Scholarship, you will be able to choose from 37 of our active sponsoring facilities. These are organizations that have specifically indicated to the program that they would potentially be able to make and host a Dellum selection in the coming year. So just to make that distinction. A list of all of our currently active sponsoring facilities can be found on our website under the section titled Sponsoring Facility, and we'll go into great detail on how to use our tools on the website and search for facilities in just a few slides. But first, let's talk about the different types of facilities that you will be able to research and potentially match up with. So one of the best parts of the SMART program, like we're saying, is the opportunity to work at various types of DoD facilities, each with its own unique mission and exciting internship and employment opportunities. Let's delve into each of the different types of facilities. And please note, like our STEM disciplines, these are broad categories of classifications of different DoD facilities, and each individual facility's mission will vary within these categories. So the 6 types include laboratory sites. At laboratory sites within the DoD, they focus on cutting-edge research and development across various scientific disciplines. Their missions can range from material science and chemistry to electronics and robotics. Scholars at laboratory sites may engage in research projects that contribute to technological advancements critical to national defense. This could include work on advanced materials, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and more. We have an example here of the Air Force Research Labs. You can also look on the website. We have corresponding Army Research Labs, Navy Research Labs, and then other organizations that don't have the word research in their title, but they are indeed research laboratories. We have intelligence community sites. These play a critical role in national security by gathering and analyzing intelligence data. Scholars here may work on data analysis, cryptanalysis, cyber threat detection, or even cutting-edge technologies used in intelligence gathering and analysis. The work can be both challenging and highly rewarding. Examples of intelligence communities include the Defense Intelligence Agency, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and the National Reconnaissance Office, just to name a few. We also work with a small handful, but we do work with some, of medical facilities. Now, it's very important to note that we do not fund medical degrees. We do work with medical facilities, though, and those facilities are focused on medical research. Scholars may engage in medical research or projects related to healthcare technology, and opportunities may include working on medical breakthroughs, developing medical solutions, or assisting with military medical missions. So examples include the Defense Centers for Public Health or Air Force Research Lab's 711 Human Performance Wing, etc. Next category we have is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They play a vital role in engineering infrastructure development and environmental management of the military. Scholars may work on infrastructure projects, environmental restoration efforts, or civil engineering research. This could involve projects such as building sustainable military bases, managing water resources, or disaster response planning. On the website, of course, they'll fall under U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, but there are many locations for these types of sites. We also work with test and evaluation centers. These centers evaluate and test new technologies, weapons systems, and equipment to ensure they meet military standards and are safe and effective. Scholars can get hands-on experience working with cutting-edge military hardware, testing new equipment, and analyzing test data. The work contributes directly to the readiness and effectiveness of the armed forces. Examples of this include U.S. Army Test and Evaluation Centers, which there are many sites. And our final type of facility that we have classification for are other mission support sites. Like Corinne mentioned, her own home location will fall under this category with the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. So these sites encompass a wide range of functions such as logistics, supply chain management, administrative support, and it's all very critical to the DoD's operations. Scholars at mission support sites may work on projects related to logistics optimization, supply chain security, administrative efficiency, even IT system support for the broader DoD mission. An example would be NAVAIR's Fleet and Readiness Center Southwest Division. In all of these facility types, scholars have the opportunity to work on meaningful projects, to collaborate with experts in their respective fields, and make real impact on national security and defense. The diversity of these facilities ensures that there is exciting and challenging opportunities available for scholars pursuing different STEM disciplines. Okay, the SMART application makes it mandatory for applicants to select at least 3 sponsoring facility preferences, but applicants have the option to add up to 5. Selecting preferences gives you more visibility to sponsoring facilities than not having any preference at all. Sponsoring facilities can view all applications once it comes time to the selection period, but they often pay more attention to the applicants that indicate their interest by way of the preferences. Therefore, we highly recommend that you consider utilizing the opportunity to add 5 preferences to your application. We also want to stress that it's important to be intentional with your preference selections. It's important that you do research into your sponsoring facility to ensure that there's an ideal fit, or it could be an ideal fit between you and that organization. So you're going to hear us say a lot during this presentation to please do your research before adding a sponsoring facility preference to your application. Remember, you are applying to make a long-term commitment if selected to be a SMART Scholar to that organization. So researching will help you make sound judgments on whether this program and the potential facility is right for you. So that leads us to the question, what should you consider when thinking about how to make a good match with a facility? Some important factors to consider are, first, we'll do some nuts and bolts. What kind of awardee are you? If you're applying for Dellum's SMART Scholarship, be sure to select Dellum's as the award type on the website. And while all sponsoring facilities are SMART sponsoring facilities, some will participate in Dellum's and others will not. So make sure that if you are a Dellum's applicant, you're only looking at those 37 that are able to select Dellum's in this coming year. Next to consider is the location. Location is very important. This will not only be where you spend your summers performing your internship, but it's also going to be where you live once you're employed by your sponsoring facility. It may not be ideal for you to select a preference of, let's say, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Anchorage, Alaska, if you enjoy the warmth and sunshine of Florida. Small things like that. Likewise, consider if you're comfortable in large cities versus rural communities. We have a lot of locations in major metropolitan areas like Washington, D.C., and we also have locations that are more in rural communities, like our test and evaluation sites are often out in the desert communities. So which do you see yourself feeling most comfortable in throughout your summer internships and then to relocate to for that employment? Other considerations for location would be the cost of living for certain areas versus others. If you have a need to stay close to extended family, look at facilities in those areas. Or if you have a spouse that has a job that won't be able to relocate when you need to relocate, think of those long-term implications of where you're looking for facilities. If you truly are flexible, then you have all of the more resources at your disposal. But if you do have specific and unique preferences or needs, to truly take that into consideration because of this commitment. And like we're saying, the time commitment involved. Can you see yourself spending internships performing at these facilities and then working for your service commitment? A 2-year SMART scholarship, think of it this way. A 2-year SMART scholarship, just to give you an example, is a commitment of at least one summer. You're going to school, go to internship, go to school to wrap it up. Then you get hired for those 2 years post-degree completion. So think of it in those terms as well. And then finally, and some would say most importantly, think of your research and career alignment. Does the sponsoring facility's mission align with your research and academic and career interests within your STEM field? What do you see yourself doing long-term? Do you want to do more hands-on engineering with equipment plucked right from the field? Or do you want to work on solving tomorrow's problems today through your research? We'll talk more about how to find out this information on the next few slides. But finally, another thing to consider when looking into our sponsoring facilities is to take a look at their past performance as a facility or their past selection history. And we'll talk about how to find that in just a minute, but how long have they been participating in the SMART program? How many scholars have they supported? So we'll talk about how to find that information out on our next slide. All right, now you know what to consider. Let's talk about where to find this information and where to find additional resources when you need some help. So first, the SMART website is awesome, smartscholarship.org. It's a great place to get started, specifically the sponsoring facility page. It has detailed information regarding each of our sponsoring facilities. When you click on the sponsoring facility landing page, you will see a filter tool function to the left and a map to the right. If you click, not hovering, but if you actually click on the pinpoint for each of those facility locations, a pop-up will tell you how many scholars have been awarded at the location since they began participating. This is a great way to get a quick snapshot of how active a facility is within the SMART program. A SMART sponsoring facility that has only supported 2 scholars since 2017 may indicate that they are less active in making selections every year. Or it may indicate that they have a very specific type of scholar that they're looking for, and they're less likely to just select applicants that don't fit those specific needs in a given year. As you'll find by clicking around on the different push pins, we have many facilities that have been coming back to SMART year after year, continuously making lots of selections. And we also have some brand new facilities that are looking to make their very first selections in 2024. Just a reminder, the needs of the facilities do change from year to year, but again, this is a great tool to get an initial gauge on how long a facility has been participating and to what extent they've been participating. Utilize our search tools to the left of the page to narrow down your search to the different STEM fields, degree levels, and other preferences like maybe facility type, award type, sponsoring service, or the different state that you're interested in. So we want you to start clicking around there. And then below that map that we have on our sponsoring facility page, you'll see a full list of all sponsoring facilities, and then they'll have hyperlinks to their more detailed information facility page. When you use the filter function, that will obviously then filter down that section so that you'll only see your filtered options there. But once you click into the links for the sponsoring facilities from that table, it will take you to more detailed information. It's going to provide you with information that the facilities gave to the program to advertise for themselves, including a facility description, what they look for in selecting a Smart Scholar, what life is like as a scholar at their location, and then where to go to find more information on them, like their social media platforms or their official web pages. Additionally, you'll see their priority STEM disciplines. This is also really helpful. Some facilities indicate to the program that they could select a very large amount of disciplines in any given year, but when you look at their specific page, it'll give you their top preferences, what they're actively looking for in year over year. So this will also just help you to get a little bit of an idea of what they could be looking for in the next selection cycle, and it'll help you align your academic pursuits to the facility needs. The SMART website also includes scholar highlights. We have a ton of videos and different clips of information that give you a brief glimpse into some of our scholars and their feedback about their time in the program and their different facilities that they're at. The website also includes upcoming events, which we can cover at the end of this webinar, and other webinars from the program. And all of our webinars give you helpful application tips so that you can ask questions just like you all are doing today. And we really appreciate it. We're getting to as many questions as you can. And don't worry, we'll also have a live Q&A session at the end. But we do, again, highly encourage you to spend some time with the sponsoring facility page on our website. We ask that you as applicants understand that you're really looking at making a life-changing decision through the Smart Scholarship Program. So to please take the time to do your research. This isn't the kind of opportunity that you just apply to the scholarship and hope you get it and not really put that thought and that effort into it, because this is a long-term commitment for school and work, and we really want to make sure that you're well informed. Okie doke, other resources, shameless plug. I'm the component liaison team lead, and I work with a fabulous team of component liaisons whose main role is to help our sponsoring facilities along their entire scholar life cycle, from selections through the completion of their service commitment. Our team has a dedicated component liaison that is assigned to the Army, Navy, Air Force, and additional DoD locations. So here's a short list of what the component liaisons can and cannot do to help you along your application journey. So first off, yes, you can reach out to our team with questions about facilities that, of course, after you've done your research, that you still have some questions on. We'll help you to understand the data that you're reading or answer any additional questions to the best of our abilities. If there's simply questions we can't answer, we will point you in the direction of additional resources to review. We can also help you identify sponsoring facilities. So for example, let's say, your major is computer science, but you have a specific desire to work in coding or software development, or you have a very niche type of degree and you just don't know what facility could potentially utilize it. That is where our liaison team could potentially help you out, again, to the best of our abilities. If not, we'll provide you resources that you can look at. And again, if you have a facility that you are very interested in working with, maybe you've been wanting to pursue a job with them for a long time, and this scholarship is a wonderful opportunity to go back to school and get further education, but you really are looking for that job in the end, we're more than happy to provide your resume in advance of your completed application as a courtesy to our points of contact at facilities, so that they can, if they're able to, reach out to you in advance of selections with any questions they may have, or to help you get understanding of their facility. So what we cannot do is provide you that direct contact information. We can help facilitate. We are not able to, nor would we provide you with recommendations of, hey, use your slots this way. You have 5 preferences. I think you should apply to these ones. We're not going to do that. Instead, we'll help you kind of narrow down your focus so that you can make that decision yourself. And also, we cannot guarantee that a facility will reach out to contact you, and we will absolutely not guarantee a selection, nor will we tell you, hey, if you apply here, you're going to get a scholarship, mainly because we don't know. We don't know who's going to make selections in any given year. But again, we do have some information that could be helpful for you. So if after you've done your research on sponsoring facilities, you still have questions, or you'd like to reach out to the program to get some more assistance, you can reach out to my team, smartcl@smartscholarship.org. We will definitely be putting that information back up at the end of our presentation. Okay, as I said before, selecting facility preferences is required. So you will do so in the SMART application. To assist you, we also have an optional additional tool that will help you narrow down your choices. It's brand new this year. It's our Smart Sponsoring Facility recommendation tool, and it's an optional resource to help recruitment smart applicants research and select facilities. The tool is located within the application and will generate responses based on STEM discipline and degree level in your application. This tool is only available to SMART applicants, not to DELMS applicants. If you're a DELMS applicant, remember it's a much more narrow facility pool. So this is an opportunity for those within the SMART application to look through those 150 plus. Still do your research, as there are more aspects to a preferred sponsoring facility than what the tool can provide, but it is something to check out if you're just so overwhelmed and just not sure where to start. Alrighty, this is what our application and scholar cycle looks like. So right now the application is open. You still have plenty of time to complete your application to the SMART program, to ask us questions about preferences, and to submit your application. The application is due the 1st of December, so be very mindful of that deadline. Try to get it in as soon as possible. SMART sponsoring facilities will begin their selections in January of 2024, and that selection period will go through the first week of March. So it is a short window of time that facilities will be looking through applications. During that time, they will also be conducting interviews with anyone they are interested in making selections for. We'll talk about a webinar about interview tips later. But that's what's happening January through March, and the official award notifications for the SMART scholarship go out in April. Most DELMS applicants, so if you are a DELMS applicant, you won't know where you're accepted or attending school until well after the application's closed. So DELMS applicants will need to upload acceptance letters to their projected school between mid-December through mid-April, and their awards will be going out just a little bit later than regular SMART awards because of that factor. So once awards are sent out to both SMART and DELMS, you'll have the option to accept or decline the award. Should you accept the award, you will have the ability to attend a site visit. That's an in-person site visit at the location that selects you for the scholarship, and that'll give you the opportunity to ask further questions, get to know the area, and determine if the scholarship is right for you. Before we open up the Q&A, we're going to review some upcoming webinar information. Thanks, Gabby. Yeah, so check it out. We have a couple more webinars coming up in the next few months. So before the application closes, we've got a Q&A webinar October 31st from 1 to 2:30 Eastern. That webinar is going to be an interactive Q&A session. We'll clarify some more ins and outs about the scholarships, discuss the application process, and answer any lingering questions that you have. We'll have another one November 15th, again, 1 to 2:30 p.m. That's Let's Hit Submit. That'll provide some more strategies to applicants on finalizing their SMART application. And then we're going to host a how to prepare for SMART sponsoring facility interviews. That'll be a fun one too. That'll be in January. So if you provide us with a completed application and you're hoping to make it to that next phase of getting an interview and what to do during that interview, join us for that webinar. So with that, we will go ahead and open it up to Q&A. All righty, just open up my window here. All righty, Corinne, I'll go ahead and ask the first question. So I'm currently a federal GS employee and actively in a master's program. How do I select my sponsoring facility? And how would I impact my commitment to the service required upon graduation? You want to take that, Corinne?
Sure. So first off, I would look to make sure that wherever you're currently a federal employee, that that particular facility is a SMART sponsored facility, that they're working with the program. And then we would consider you to be a retention scholar because you're already a DoD employee. I'm assuming that you're DoD. So you still go through the same application process. However, I would encourage you to talk to your facility and really figure out their sponsorship, how they're going to work with you during your degree pursuit and work at the same time. We also just did a recruitment webinar retention webinar that should be posted on our website. Would be a great webinar for you to watch and really gain some ideas about how to be a retention scholar. Your service commitment would be exactly the same as we've just been talking about. Once you're done with your degree pursuit, you would still owe that same amount of time back to your particular facility.
All right. Let's take another question here. We have, we've been getting a lot of questions. So we have some general questions and then some more facility specific ones. So I'll give another general one. Where would epidemiology fall under these categories? Oof. I spent a little bit of time doing some outreach events at a forensics and epidemiology conference. So biosciences, I think, would be the broadest category where that would fall under. And so you would look specifically at those medical facilities, because that sounds like you would be looking to do more medical research. So check out those. Thanks for that.
All right. Is the in-person orientation required for all recipients? What are the dates so applicants can plan to attend? So yes, required. It will be July 16th and 17th in Washington, D.C. And I did see another question that asked if the program was funding awardees to come to that. The answer is yes. The program will fund both site visits to the sponsoring facility as well as orientation this coming summer for those that are offered an award.
All right. How competitive is the SMART scholarship? What is our acceptance rates?
I can answer that.
Okay, I was going to say we want
All right.
this one.
So our acceptance rate is roughly 20%. We get a number of applications started. We don't count those unless they're actually completed and completely done, have everything that we asked for. And so last year we got just under 3,000. This 2023 cohort, we awarded 468 new scholars on August 1st.
Awesome. All righty, we'll take one. If we are awarded more years than we have left on our degree, but plan on continuing a higher degree level, does the award carry over or do we need to reapply? Okay, I hear a couple of things in this. So first is understanding that when you apply to SMART, you're applying for the remainder of whatever degree you're currently pursuing. Let's say that's an undergrad and you know now that you want to get that master's degree, apply as a bachelor's/master's program and request that amount of time needed to complete that bachelor's and master's. That's the safest option, the best option of moving forward with that. If you are a bachelor's student and you're just not sure, apply for whatever you need. If there is the opportunity for you to get a master's later, we could work through our current processes and procedures to help extend that award. If you're talking right now that you are a bachelor's and you think you want to extend all the way through to a PhD, that will require you to apply to the SMART program once you're done with that degree level. So just depends on where you are with your award, but just take a look at how many years you think you'll be needing to complete the current degree that you're wanting to complete and apply for that.
All right, I can take the next one. What's the rate of students that complete their service obligation? So we're on track for 91% that either have completed their service obligation or are on track to complete. So they may be just starting or still within their degree pursuit and, planning to complete their service obligation.
All right. We'll go ahead and take the next one. We'll do an easy one about government shutdowns because that's a hot button topic. We'll just go ahead and get that out of the way. I see that there were a couple of questions about the government shutdowns. We were trying to get out a bunch of information, but the SMART program is fully funded in advance. So we are not affected recruitment, scholar stipends, tuition is not affected by government shutdowns. Yeah, so Corinne, if there's any additional discussion towards that,
yeah. If you were in a government shutdown and in phase 2 with your service commitment, then it would go, whatever your facility is doing, that's how it would affect you as well. Let's see, what's the penalty if you don't finish your service commitment? A repayment of tuition or something like that? Yeah, so if you don't finish your service commitment for whatever reason, the program puts you in a potential debt collection. So you are, you go through a process and have, you could, well, yeah, you're subject to debt collection back to the government. And that's for all monies that the program has given to you as part of your scholarship award.
Okay, I'll take a question about, hi, I have a bachelor's, but have registered for a cybersecurity program to start this fall at a community college. Which of the 2 scholarships should I select to best fit my application? Because you already have that prior degree, you already have a college background, so you would be applying for the SMART scholarship. Okay. We have a couple of questions about pay and scale. So this one particularly states, what GS level would a scholar with a PhD start working as?
So that really depends on your facility. The facilities are the ones that are hiring our scholars, and they are the ones that articulate those awards and that salary benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can check out opm.gov just to see the general scale system. It'll give you a general guideline between these general ranges for the different degree fields. Like Corinne's saying, each sponsoring facility has the ability to fund slightly differently than others, and also locality will also take a factor into your overall compensation, but you can get a general idea at opm.gov. Okay. How many years of funding, how are the funding years determined? Instead of full years of our degree to fund, can the awarded student choose how long they want their degree to be funded for the award? So I'm hearing kind of like, other programs or fellowship programs, you can kind of flex your time between. So Corinne, if you want to take this one, how is our funding?
Yeah, so we fund based on the amount of time that you have remaining in your degree pursuit. So let's say coming next August, you have 3 years left. Our program would fund those 3 years and then also require the 3-year service commitment following your degree completion. Mm-hmm. We don't do a partial based on the number of years that you have remaining.
Right. And one application is for all of that. You don't need to reapply for funding year mm-hmm. after year. If you needed those 3 years, you get all 3 years of funding, and you have to use, it is consecutive. If for whatever reason you need to take a leave of absence, you can do that. That just presses pause on that funding, but then you come back and complete it. So it's not within the next 5 years, we're going to fund you 3 years, and you can kind of slide that around as you need it. So that's the difference in our program there.
Do sponsoring facilities consider our other scholarships or other financial aid that is paying our tuition when reviewing our applications? For example, would we be turned down if we already have some scholarships? What do you think, Alexis?
No, yes. Our sponsoring facilities are looking at you as more of a future employee, right? So they're looking at your skill sets, your background, your academic interests, those personal statements, and any other information that's on your application to see, what potential you would be for an employee for their organization. The only thing to consider is if you are accepting additional federally funded scholarships, the program will require you to deny enjoy those other federal benefits because we are a federally funded program, but our sponsoring facilities aren't the ones to do that. The selecting organizations don't take that into consideration. We as the program would need to work with you on those.
All right. Hello. If I'm graduating with a bachelor's in computer science and have already accepted to start a master's in data science the next semester, with these two areas overlapping, should I select both as listed for the facilities?
I hear this question as, which of my you're graduating with a degree in computer science, you're wanting to start getting more specialized, you want to be looking for facilities that are looking for that future specialized degree. So data science would be where that's what you're going to end up with because that's your preference in your facility. If facilities are looking at your application and selection portal, they'll of course see that you've completed a bachelor's in computer science. So that's knowledge that they would have access to. But the program that you're looking to attain your SMART funded degree in, that's who you should be looking at facilities who are going to be wanting that selection. So if it's something like data science, you can utilize our website and reach out to our team for additional support there.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I see physics, but what about quantum computing? I would recommend you reach out to the CL team and we can dig through some of our files and help you search through the website for more specific information like that. A few things come to mind, but we don't want to get into too many specifics on advice for specific applicants during this Q&A session, but reach out to the team and we can help you.
All right. If we're currently working as an NAF employee on base, sorry, my question just went away. There it is. If we're currently working as an NAF employee on base, is the clearance the same or would we have to redo the background process to get a new hire one? So that's really going to be up to your sponsoring facility and what position they will be hiring you for following your SMART degree. It's variable and, depends on what clearance you currently have. And then again, also what they will be hiring you for. Let's see, are there any updates on if the number of facilities that will sponsor DELMS candidates will increase for this round of scholarships?
Okay. I think I can take that one. So the currently listed on the application SMART DELMS facilities were, this is the first year of the DELMS opportunity. So we have facilities that are initially very interested in selecting DELMS. And we hope that after we're able to award SMART DELMS this coming cycle, that we'll then go back to our facilities and talk about the successful selections, and we'll be able to recruit more facilities to be able to select for DELMS. If there's a facility that's not listed on the application, there still is the possibility that they could select. It's very rare, but we aren't limiting facilities in their ability to view all DELMS, even if they didn't raise their hand to say, I want to participate with DELMS. So we're leaving that door open. It is rare, but at the same time, if you're working with an organization, they're just not listed, you can engage with them to say, hey, I'd be a DELMS, I'd be interested. So that's is the ability to, but really, if you don't currently have a connection to any sponsoring facility and you're purely looking at our applicant pool, take a look at those folks and that will be your pool for this year. So hopefully more next year.
All right. Are recent graduates or seniors given preference over college freshmen / sophomores? No preference. I think it's just that we have this new expanded eligibility with DELMS that we haven't had in the past. So we're just trying to highlight two different paths depending upon where you're at in your educational career.
Yeah, absolutely. And every facility has different preferences and needs. And even within a specific facility, it's, their individual technical departments are requesting scholars through them. So there may be departments within one facility that want their hands on a 3-year bachelor's level, and there might be others that can only hire with that. They want 1 year to get them onboarded. So it truly does vary. There's no numbers game to play there. So just put your best package forward and see if this is your year to be selected. All right. If I wanted to apply for a 5th co-term, so if I wanted to apply for a bachelor's, master's, could that decision be made after the award is accepted? That one's you, Corinne.
It certainly could be. However, like Alexis alluded to earlier, if you know that you want to do that bachelor's, master's combo, I would highly recommend that you just state that from the beginning. Certainly, if you didn't know and you just wanted to do the bachelor's and then eventually found that you wanted to do a master's, with that, we just make sure that your sponsoring facility agrees with that change in degree and then go forward. But if you know now, I would highly recommend that you put that lets the sponsoring facility know what your intentions are, helps them maybe look to the future for their hiring, how far out will it be before they will be able to hire you. And then also, just realizing what your final degree level will be can also help them in their decision making.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump down to Forrest's question. What responsibilities would we have to our sponsoring facility during our time at school?
So really not much. We are hoping that you will focus on your academics when you're at school and really work to do the best that you absolutely can in your academics, maintaining that 3.0 GPA. You may have a mentor reach out to you so often, email, maybe a phone call just to see how you're doing, how things are going. But as far as any kind of work while you're at school, there shouldn't be any. We want you to focus on school. When it comes to the springtime, you'll start getting some emails from the program, from SMART, to get ready for internships and things of that nature. But our focus is really that you are taking your academics seriously and taking the time that you need in order to be able to be successful there.
Okay. Here's a general question about SMART. My university requires an in-person summer class for my degree to graduate. How will this work with SMART? So SMART obviously has the requirement for you to attend an internship during the summer months if your award crosses the summer period. However, we do have, for those instances where you have a required course you have to take, you have the ability to request the ability to take an in-person class over the summer. That may or may not mean you need to also request waiving an internship. Obviously, that's not ideal, but again, if it's something that can't be avoided for your degree pursuit, then that's something that we do have procedures that can take care of that for you. Good question.
Here's a great question for you, Alexis. How should we approach the facilities that I'm interested in?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And it really depends on how far into your research are you. If you've got facilities in mind and your short list is a short list of 5, and you really would like to start networking because those are really the only options that you'll consider if you get selected by. That's where I would recommend you reach out to the SMART CL team. We can do the, providing a resume in advance to initiate the conversation. Some of our SMART sponsoring facilities will be very responsive to that and will reach out to you in advance. We can't guarantee which ones because we work with so many. But again, if you are demonstrating you've done your research and you're reaching out to the program, we can help to facilitate those connections. If you're really far in the beginning of of that process, then again, facilities want to know that you've done that research in advance. If you're coming to an organization and you really aren't a good fit, it's not going to be something that they're going to necessarily engage with that much. So again, doing your research first and getting very clear on what it is that you want to do, and getting very clear on what you could contribute to the DoD, I think is very important, because when you begin interfacing, if you have the opportunity to interface with any DoD organization in advance, you really want to be able to show them that you understand their mission and you're applying for a job with them. So I would approach any interaction you have with a facility, whether it's prior to submitting the application or if it's during the interview time, during the selection time, that you're approaching the facility having done your research and you're treating it like a job interview. So I would look up and into those kinds of areas. Yeah. Great question. Hope to hear from you.
All right. I've been a full-time high school intern at Sandia National Labs under the DOE for about a year now. I'm looking to apply for the Dellum Scholarship, but wondering if I must resign from my internship in the DOE if accepted into the SMART program. Is this the case? So I'll take that. So yes, that is the case. However, if you were awarded this April timeframe, you could still work for DOE until your scholarship begins, which would be in August. So you've got this full 9 months or so to continue that internship. Once you start with SMART, though, we again do require that you do your internship within the sponsoring facility that has selected you. So we would ask you to come just to SMART and resign from the DOE internship. But awesome job doing a DOE internship as a high school student. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. What if you are chosen as the #1 candidate for facility? This is such a great question. Which facilities have priority essentially in getting SMART awards? So very interesting question. The SMART program is here to meet the needs of the DoD. So our sponsoring facilities put together a list after they've reviewed applications. They will put together a list that they would like to support, and the SMART program will attempt to fulfill all of their needs if we have the funding to in any given year. Facilities will rank their priority. So again, if you happen to be the #1 candidate, if it is from an organization that we're able to go forward with an award, then that's how it works. So we are responsive to their needs, and they will indicate to the program the number of scholars they want, and we do our very best to fulfill all of their needs. And so some years we're able to fulfill all needs, and other years we're not able to. And then it's up to the organization to determine what to do. So good question.
So good follow on to that, Alexis. Do the types of sponsoring facilities that have less sites, like the medical, have lower acceptance rates?
Yeah, so if you click on those buttons, you can also see the number of selections that our medical facilities have, and you'll see it is lower than other organizations that we've been working with for quite some time. We're working very hard to onboard more medical facilities because we're getting a lot of great, wonderful applicants in biosciences and biomedical engineering, but the DoD is a little slow to get together participation with our program and even just hiring into those types of new and emerging STEM fields. So we're currently working with a few medical facilities, and you can see how many selections they've been making any given year. We're hopeful that they're continuously participating in the program, and we're working on capturing new organizations that could in the future be able to make more selections. So I encourage you to take a look at the medical facilities. There's not many of them, so to click on each of their push pins, and you can see how many selections they've been making since how long of time. Again, that'll gauge. I would also, again, encourage you to take a look at, other elements that you could be interested in, because bioscience at large isn't just, medical facility related. We do have some facilities that aren't labeled as medical facilities, but they're doing very interesting work in areas that could be, lateral to what you're researching. So if you really are looking to get a scholarship and you're a little bit more flexible in what you are wanting to do, just check out some other facilities as well. Wouldn't want you to turn away just because of, seeing there's only 4 medical facilities. So
yeah, don't limit your options, right?
exactly.
All right, to become a surgeon, should I do the laboratory site or medical site? So SMART funds, particularly on the medical side here, we fund mostly medical research. So that our facilities are doing more on the research side of the medical community than the actual physician, surgeon, that kind of thing. So I would say if you're looking to become a surgeon, this might not be the right spot, to be quite honest.
Yeah. All right. If I work at a facility that is not listed as a sponsoring facility, but the division it falls under is, how would I indicate preference? So we had a really great webinar not too long ago for current DoD employees that were looking to be selected through the SMART program. I think we have links available that we could that we have on our website, so you can check that one out as well. But essentially, if you are a current DoD employee, you would you can reach out to my team and we can help to assess whether or not your facility participates within SMART, and we can help put you in contact with the POC, since that is internally to your organization, and you can discuss with them the opportunity to potentially be selected. If you're currently an intern and you're not a full-time employee, that you're doing a summer hire type program, talk to your organization about potentially being selected for SMART. Some facilities, again, may make selections, but they may not be advertised because they just don't make selections that often. So that's why they're not on our website. So rare opportunity, but at the same time, if you're not sure, reach out to our team and we can help you with specifics.
All right, one more retention question for you. If you're awarded a retention scholar and are sponsored by a current employer, can you still be sponsored by another facility?
Yeah. So it's very rare to be selected for SMART by a different organization, but it can happen. But what needs to happen is you would leave employment with your current employer and be hired by the other organization prior to the funding starting. So we really hope you check out that retention webinar to talk about those logistics. But you cannot maintain employment with one facility but be future sponsored by another. So it would have to happen before you would begin in the program. So check out that retention webinar. Okay. I'm curious, if I earn the scholarship award by pursuing a bachelor's, and then after my bachelor's, I want to go back and get a master's, will the organization take back the scholarship? I think what they're asking is what would happen? Like if I get awarded a SMART, but then I want more, what can I do?
Yeah, so in this instance, if you finished your bachelor's degree and decided that you wanted to get a master's, we would do communication with your sponsoring facility. And assuming that they agree with you getting a master's, then we just continue the award. That's assuming that you have the right number of years, right? The total is less than 5 years. And so it would really be a communication with the sponsoring facility to make sure that they agree with you having a master's and that benefits their workforce. Certainly, if they weren't looking for a bachelor's, then that's a different conversation. I think most of our facilities are pretty amenable to students pursuing the extra education.
All right, here's a good one. Is there a way to know if a position is remote or hybrid? There are positions I would like, but are either too far away for everyday driving or not close enough. So it's safe to assume that all positions will be in person. So our facilities will not be able to advertise if a position could potentially have remote, and it is very rare. A lot of organizations are moving, back out of the COVID times and back to full strength manning. Some of the DoD is still on hybrid work schedules, but that's not in the job description. So assume that all positions are in person. We expect all internships and site visits to be conducted in person. So if you are, able to interview with a facility, or you're selected and you attend a site visit, that could be a better question to ask at that time. But just assume that all positions are in person.
All right. Can you change facilities between summer internships? No, we the sponsoring facility that is sponsoring you as a student going through your academic pursuit is the facility. We're really working within SMART for you and that facility to build a relationship. You get expertise within their work environment, within their mission, and then completing those summer internships and eventually transitioning to a full-time civilian employee once you're done with your academic pursuit. So we're focused on the one facility that is making, again, that hiring decision and really working with you to develop you and get you ready once you complete your degree to enter their workforce.
Absolutely. Gosh, so many questions, and we're coming up on the last 17 minutes of our time on the Q&A. We've answered almost 100 and we still got 100 to go. So we're going to keep going at it and keep trying to get to all of our questions. But if we're not able to get to your questions today, don't forget we have some more, we have a specific Q&A webinar coming up for more questions, and you can always reach out. But we're going to keep hitting at the list here. Okay, let's do this one that Lori flagged. I'm an Army reservist. I am required to complete annual training during the summers. Can I opt to fulfill some of my summer internship requirement virtually or during the fall instead? So, of course, as a reservist, if you are pulled for routine, reservist duties, you have the ability to request an alternatively timed internship. That is an option. Or you could go on a leave of absence from the program if your reservist duty takes more than 4 consecutive weeks. So we have some processes and procedures in place that can help you to navigate those nuances to your situation.
All right, here's a good facility one. Alexis, I've tried the website search and it's not helping me find a facility that is working on my specific research interests, as well as the facility's individual media sites, but I still do not find what the research conducted is focused on. I've emailed on my search and waiting for assistance. How can I get assistance?
Well, you're going to get assistance. So if you've reached out to the Smart CL inbox, during this time of year, we are getting a high volume of questions. So we'll be on the lookout specifically for those questions to be able to answer them and help you further with your search. So if you are, coming up and looking for a very specific niche, please give us as much information as possible. Especially if you've got an area of expertise that you're looking for us to, and we will be able to get to you as soon as we possibly can. So hold tight and we'll be able to get you a response shortly.
For applicants who would only be in the program for 1 year, does not having the internship impact someone's chances of being selected? No, it doesn't, because again, our facilities are looking at SMART and our awardees as hiring decisions. So there are plenty of facilities that need people sooner, right? So a 1-year award may work really well for them. So no, it does not impact your chances at all.
All right. Okay, let's see. Looking for another facility one. Another retention question. Again, I'll point you to our webinar, but I'm currently a full-time engineer at a sponsoring facility. Is there still a post-graduation requirement? Yes, there is. You would continue working for your organization for the length of time that SMART funded your scholarship. So if you're looking to complete a master's for 2 years, you would just need to retain that employment for that 2 years. And again, the nuances of being selected potentially by another facility are rare but possible, and it would require that juggling, that transition between your current organization and a different organization. If you are applying to SMART and you want to be with your organization, you'd list them as your top preference on your application.
Right, sorry, I just moved again. My desired major is agricultural science, and I'm not sure if it fits under geoscience, bioscience, or environmental sciences. So a couple of thoughts there. I would look at what you want to do with your ag degree, and where do you feel that it fits best within those higher umbrellas. You could also reach out to our team and talk a little bit about what you anticipate doing with that degree or what you would like to do, and we could try to help you narrow that down. The other thing would be to look at the different sponsoring facilities that you're interested in and how it fits within the degrees that they hire. Anything else on that, Alexis, that you would recommend?
Nope. I think you hit the high points. And if there is any kind of question, if you're looking at a facility and you're like, this one sounds like it would be, and I'm not quite sure, reach out to our team and we'll be able to assess that with you. Okay. Let's see. We've had an inquiry from an applicant named Michael. He is a mechatronics engineering major. Interesting. And pursuing a career in aerospace work for the DoD. Will this scholarship provide me with what I need? Along with the internship, will it supply me with the ability to work for the DoD industry? So great question, Michael. Again, start searching our website for aerospace engineering. Not too familiar with your degree field. So start looking at aerospace engineering and facilities that would select in aerospace. Give them a look through, see if that's something that you're interested in. And again, if you've got any questions, you can always reach out to the general SMART lane or SMART, because again, our scholarship provides you with internships and that full-time employment if selected.
Is DELMS for underrepresented groups only? No. DELMS is just named in recognition of Ronald B. Dellums, but both the program and the sponsoring facilities are considering whole applicant and provide equal opportunity to all applicants and prohibit any kind of discrimination.
Right. Do Pathways interns count as retention scholars or not? Or the way they question this is actually correct. So Pathway interns do not count as retention. Is that correct? That is correct. Pathways, NREAPs, PSIPs, PACs, those are not full-time employees. Those are summer hires. I know the language can be confusing, especially when you're talking to a facility. They'll often call you a summer hire, and so you think I must be a full-time employee. But no, those are workforce development programs similar to ours, and so you would need to choose either to onboard with SMART next August, or if you would not have our scholarship and stay with Pathways as that option. Okay. All right. Ooh, still so many questions coming in faster than we get answers to them. I like this one from Cameron. How should I think about selecting between computer science, engineering, software engineering, and data analytics as different award degrees? I imagine my particular research interest matters more than the on-paper degree selection. So if you're thinking to yourself, man, I have a variety of interests, and you're kind of at the point of your academic pursuit where you need to declare a major, I'm assuming this is where you're at with your career, or you're a graduate level student and you've just finished your undergraduate and you're trying to determine PhD pursuit. It definitely is important for you to think very clearly on what it is you want to be doing and where you see yourself long-term within your career. There could be the potential to switch that degree, but again, your facility is making a selection based on what you're telling them you are going to be doing and what you're interested in, and they're making essentially a hiring decision. So I wouldn't ever bet on trying to switch a major later. So think about what it is you really want to pursue, and don't think of it as which STEM discipline do I have a higher possibility of being selected as. I see some scholars are thinking, I'm a dual major, which one gives me the higher opportunity to be selected? It doesn't really work that way, because again, our facilities are looking for what they're looking for. So the preference selection and you indicating to them that you're interested in them is really important. And then also they have the ability to search for what they're specifically looking for as well. So if you are more passionate about software engineering than you are about, computer engineering, you can indicate that in your personal statements about your academic interests. So be honest. Right. Let's see.
Just looking for some other, there's lots of, does my degree fall in this category or that? And we're certainly happy to answer those questions. We're really trying to answer facility questions on this call. So here's PSNY, so Puget Sound Naval, which is my facility at Bremerton, is sponsoring activity for the SMART program. Yes, just started this year. So they will be awarding for the 2024 cohort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can double check to see if they are already added to the application, because they were just onboarded very recently. I know we worked very quickly to get them added to the application. So just hold tight, so we'll be able to get them all set up if they're not yet added. So just hold tight on that if that's one you're interested in. Okay. Yep, scrolling through as well to look for more questions, facility facing. All right. As we're scrolling through, maybe we could knock off an easy question here. Oh, here we go. What will happen if you're selected by a facility that wants you to work on a project which doesn't align with your degree? What if you have a very narrow topic for your PhD and there's no other facilities that are coinciding with that focus? I think this is a very important question, because I wouldn't want to encourage what is the phrase, a round peg to fit in a square hole, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are have a narrow focus, some facilities may not be for you, and the opportunity may not be this year. It may be another year. So we wouldn't encourage you to think, maybe they'll find a different job for me later. Trust during, again, what you're researching about facilities is what they're able to offer. And if you're so niche or you're so narrow in a focus that what they're offering isn't what you want, then you would decline the award and try again next year and keep looking for different facilities. Especially when you're so narrow, if you are a PhD student, it truly is, if any given year, any given Sunday, right? Any given year, a facility might have that need, but it is a smaller percentage just because of the narrowness of focus, as you would be an expert in the field.
Yeah, and I would say be true to yourself, right? We're really trying to make good matches here. And so if you are very focused on that narrow area of research, be true to yourself. We want people to be happy and enjoy their career. So like Alexa said, it might not be this year.
Yeah. I see a great question from Blake about, I'm looking at facilities that are kind of close to him. And he says, I see one or two facilities that are near where I live. He's a computer science major, so that's a very broad topic and one of our most selected STEM disciplines as a BS level. That's the highest need that the DoD has. Would it be, should I say yes to these facilities? Should I look into it? So again, going back to what we presented today, thinking about all of the things that are important to you. Is it important that you're staying close to where you currently live? If that's the answer, then you would only, take a look at those facilities that are close to you. Or again, assess your flexibility if you are willing to travel a different distance. Our facilities are where they're located. We can't make a DoD location in an area that it's just not there, right? And we've worked over the past, decade and a half of acquiring a lot of representation across the DoD. So we are still working to acquire more, but if there's just not facilities in your area, that's your option if you need to stay local. So again, consider what's most important to you when you go back out to that search.
I've got a good one here. If you complete your service obligation and want to continue working with your facility, are we guaranteed to keep our job/position, or do we have to apply to the position but have higher priority? So when you start your service commitment, you are hired as a DoD civilian employee, all the benefits, everything that comes with it. And then after your service commitment, that continues on. You don't need to reapply or anything like that. And certainly, we hope that you're interested in staying with your sponsoring facility or moving around throughout the DoD and engaging in other opportunities. So the short answer is no, you don't need to reapply.
We've got one more facility question I think we have some time to answer, and it's a little bit about how do we analyze our data on our website. So when selecting a facility, how should we interpret the scholar by degree breakdown? Should we prioritize facilities that sponsor the degree we're pursuing, or should we consider the facilities that are selecting applicants? So again, really great question. And I'll say a few things about this and then we'll kick it back to Gabby to close this off. But when taking a look at facilities, you will see information like they select 50% bachelor's level students, 50% PhDs, or you'll see 100% PhDs or 100% bachelor's level students. I think that is pretty indicative of what they're looking for. Again, if you're seeing a very strong preference for they only appear to be picking physics majors or chemistry majors at this location, that's a pretty strong indicator of what they typically are looking for. Don't want to discourage you if they also have listed other facilities. That's where I think you can take a look at their deeper mission and they'll give you their top priority STEM disciplines. So a lot of facilities say, yes, we could potentially hire in these 20 categories, but we're really only looking for these 4. So take a look at that in-depth page for sponsoring facilities when looking at the stats and the details. And again, if you're looking at an organization that has listed they have selected 100 plus SMART scholars since 2006, that's a pretty strong indicator that they are a workhorse for our program. They show up every year and they pick a lot of scholars. Again, if they align with you and that sounds good to you, that's up to you to put that as a preference. Again, take a look at how long they've been participating and their numbers. And again, click around to get an idea of, we work with tons of different types of organizations, very large ones and very small ones. So I think we're going to end on that note. Corinne, would you like any parting words before we wrap up here?
A couple of things. I want to thank everybody for attending today and great questions. Apologize that we didn't get to all of the questions. So certainly you can email us or as we alluded to, have a couple of other webinars coming up very shortly. One is just that, all about questions. So register for those. We'll get to your questions. Really appreciate everybody attending and being such a great audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we just have our contact information. where to reach out for general program questions, where to reach out for facility questions, where to get technical help on your application, and again, all of our social media handles and platforms. So with that, I thank you all for joining, and we'll go ahead and call that a wrap. Thanks, everybody.